All right, so we finally get to the part where we get to use these guys. Now that we know how to hold the stick and stand behind the drum, we're ready to talk about playing. One thing to always remember is that everything you ever play on drums can be broken down into 4 different types of strokes. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this lesson. No matter how easy something may be or how dense and difficult it might seem, remember that it is always comprised of these 4 types of strokes, except for maybe a buzz stroke. But generally, these are the 4 stroke types we use to play drums. The first is known as the legato or the full stroke. A full stroke or legato stroke starts at a point and comes right back up to that point. Legato being relaxed and naturally bouncing back up. Hence why a lot of battery musicians refer to a warm-up such as 8s as either 8s or legatos. When played correctly, the legato stroke allows the stick to fully come off the drum and vibrate in your hand, producing a nice full sound. You squeeze the stick or cut the tension, it can still technically be a full stroke, but it's not going to get the sound you want. They're both starting and stopping in the same place, but one is using the rebound of the drum, and the other you're forcing back up. So make sure to always keep that in mind. The downstroke, as implied in its name, comes down. So just like the full stroke or the legato stroke, it'll start up here, but you'll keep it down. This particular type of stroke is used to set you up for softer passages or passages played with mostly taps. So now that you're already down here, just turn your wrist and play that. We'll get into taps next, but the point is with the downstroke, it's important to remember that it is just as relaxed and per se legato as the full stroke. You're just stopping it down here instead of up here. You still want to get the same sound. You're just stopping it. Now again, some tips for this is you don't want to squeeze the stick at the bottom end to make sure you get it down there. I would rather you rebound it a little too high and make sure you're still getting that nice full sound than squeeze it and make sure it's down here where it's supposed to be. Or, see a little wiggle? That's fine. As long as you're getting that sound and you're coming back generally to the tap height. This will cut off your sound, and although technically, again, it is a downstroke, you never want to get that aesthetic or sound coming off of your instrument. Trust me, I did it for years. Next is a stroke type that I already spoiled called the tap stroke. Taps are generally the softest type of stroke you will play in terms of whatever dynamic spectrum the passage calls for. Now, just because the tap strokes are low doesn't mean you cut off the quality or play them with any less effort than you would the notes up top. You're still turning your wrist and making sure you're relaxed to get that nice full sound. You always want to get that. Again, if you're struggling to keep your taps down, do not use strength, force, any of those nasty words to get your taps down to where you want them to be visually. It's better to produce a great sound and teach yourself to bring that great sound down to that visual level than bring yourself down to the visual level with a bad sound and try to work up to the good sound. Last stroke is the upstroke. This type of stroke prepares you to play another full stroke or downstroke. So what it is you essentially play a tap and bring the stick back up. An older instructor of mine used to always refer to this as the hot stove stroke. You guys ever touch a hot stove? Don't do it. But if you did, it would look a little bit like this. Right? You would be real scared, come off as fast as you can. It's kind of the same idea. You want to make sure you get that nice up motion to prepare yourself for the full stroke or the downstroke. or this one is a little bit weird to practice out of context, but nonetheless very important. Whenever you're ever frustrated with a passage or anything you're playing for school or auditions, by breaking something down into these 4 different stroke types, you'll be able to better assess where you're going wrong with the motion and where you're being less than optimal with the way you're drumming. I can recount countless times where I practiced a really hard lick or something really difficult and just made sure I was kind of playing it and it kind of sounded good without realizing that a lot of the reason why I couldn't play it really well or really as good as I wanted to play it was because I didn't understand how the passage worked in terms of its motions and its stroke type. Discovering this was kind of a hack for me, and once I discovered this, I would just put something down to half tempo and then go over what each stroke called for, and slowly but surely, my sound developed as a result of that work. A small simple exercise we can use to practice this is just quite literally 1 stroke of each type, one after the other, for 4 beats. So the exercise would go full, down, tap, up. Full, down, tap, up. And you do 2 bars on the right hand and 2 bars on the left hand. So it'll look a little bit something like this. And you want to make sure you're doing everything in your power to play the strokes as they should be played. Doing that will ensure quality down the line when you're developing the rest of your skills. In your best interest, it's better to play this exercise slower than faster when you first start to learn these types of strokes. But as you start playing faster and more difficult passages, you can bump up the tempo on this and really feel how your hands differentiate the stroke types at a faster tempo. And again, I'll reiterate the importance of knowing the difference in these stroke types and being able to apply these to whatever it is that you learn or develop as a snare drummer.